friends. So one thing that I want to talk about today is how I was able to save up $50,000 by 26 and different creative ways that I was able to save money and make extra money and make ends meet by living frugally but still living my life and having fun and eating out and having friendships and living my life still. One of the main things that I would say helped was just living within my means, and I know that's kind of a no-brainer, but being somewhat aware of what I was spending versus how much I'm making. And I've never been great about like having an exact budget and being super aware of I can only spend this much on food and I can only spend this much on entertainment. I've never really been great at that. I've always kind of been a little bit more of an intuitive, like having an idea of how much I make versus how much I spend. And I think I had to be a little bit more aware of that because my job is a massage therapist, and so pretty much every paycheck is a little bit different based on like insurances of my appointments throughout that month and how many patients I was able to see that month, and it was different all the time. And especially with insurance companies, you get paid at different rates, and so I always kind of had to be a little bit extra aware of it maybe than other people. One of the main things that helped too was I was able to work my way through massage school without going into debt. I didn't really get any sort of scholarships or financial help for college. One of the biggest helps that I did have is I was able to live with my parents while I was in massage school, because I did it right after high school and I was already living with them still, and they allowed me to live with them while I was in school and just paying really minimally on like car insurance and cell phone bill, things like that. But I didn't have to pay any rent at the time, which was huge, which was such a blessing. I'm so thankful that I had the privilege of being able to do that. But besides that, I was a waitress and I worked at the school also doing like student internship sort of work, just filing things. I worked for one of our teachers as her personal assistant, and I was able to pay my way through school and not be in any debt. So that was my number one tip, is if you can stay out of debt and stay out of student loans, that I think is a huge thing that helped me be able to save up this $50,000. So that's my number one tip, is if you can, pay for things as you go, pay in cash, be able to save that money up as you go instead of getting into a bunch of debt. And if you do have to get in debt, especially for school, because I think sometimes student loans can be helpful, especially if you have a direction with those student loans and if you have a specific plan of this is how I want to spend my next 4 years in getting this degree so that I can pay off my student loans in the first year and be able to actually start making money. I heard a really good piece of advice from one of my old professors in massage school. They said that if your student loan money is more than what you'll make in your first year of what you're going to school for, that job, then it's not worth it. Then you're getting into too much debt. But if it's about the same, and if you're gonna make about the same in that first year, then it's worth it. The second thing that really helped me save money and get this nest egg was cutting out extra expenses that weren't priorities to me anymore. And I went over one of these things in a previous video. Was I sold my gas guzzler car I had a 4-door Jeep Wrangler, which I loved at the time, and I talk a lot about why I sold that dream car in one of my last videos, because I loved it at the time and it was such a great vehicle. But it got to the point where me spending that much money every month on gas, I was spending probably about $280 a month just on gas, and having to fill up my tank every week, and it was just so expensive. I got like 12 miles per gallon and it was just super expensive. And now I have a vehicle that I still really love, that I can still take outdoors, I can still do things, go on adventures with it. It's a wonderful vehicle that I love, that's actually newer than the Jeep that I had before. But it gets way better gas mileage, and I spend probably like a third of what I was spending before on gas. And so things like that, where I'm asking myself like, okay, is this money that I'm spending bringing real value to my life currently? Where I would say before, my vehicle that I had, the Jeep, I think it was worth that money for me. I loved it. I loved being able to take the top off my Jeep and go off-roading and be able to have this car that was my dream car. I think it was worth that money for me. But now I'm at that place where it's just not. I have new dreams. And so I've been trying to be better at asking myself, is this money actually adding real value to my current life? Even if it was before, is it now currently adding value? Another thing that I think really helped me be able to save that money is letting go of FOMO, of that fear of missing out. Because I think that that's something that I've really thought a lot about this year as I've been simplifying my life and trying to live a little bit more minimally. Is one of the hardest things was letting go of that fear of missing out, of going to all the dinner parties and buying drinks and going to concerts, and it wasn't out of, because I think sometimes I go to those things because I genuinely want to go experiment with new foods and spend time with those friends, and that's so worth that money. But then sometimes I feel like I end up going to things like that out of that feeling of FOMO. And I started asking myself, like, why am I actually feeling this way? And I think it was more of a fear of being forgotten and not as much of a fear of missing out. And so once I really started to dig into, like, why am I afraid of being forgotten in my friendships? Why am I afraid of being overlooked or not being good enough? And once I started asking myself, like, okay, like, what friendships do I have that I know that no matter what, they're gonna love me for me, whether I go to every dinner party, every social event, every party, I know they're gonna love me no matter what, and I don't have to spend money in order to be their friend or to show them that I love them. And in what ways can I show them that I love them and show up for them in our friendship and connect with them in a way that's not going out to dinner and buying expensive things or going shopping with them or going on these extravagant trips. And if I want to do those things, like, I still want to be able to go to Hawaii. I still want to be able to buy things that I want that actually add value to my life, but just being more aware of the intention behind it, and if it's actually things that I want to do, and if it's things that are genuinely adding value to my friendships and my social life, and those activities are actually bringing me real joy, and it's not out of a sense of fear. I hope that made sense. Another thing that I think that has really helped me save money is being aware of what I'm spending on food. This month, I've actually been doing kind of a fun challenge that I think I'm going to try and make some kind of vlog about. I'm actually trying to spend the least amount as possible on food. I still obviously am going to be eating food and living a healthy lifestyle and being nourished, but I want to be as aware as I can of what I'm spending on food, just to challenge myself. So I want to use as much as I can from my garden that I'm growing just in my backyard. I don't have a ton of space. I just have probably 4 beds that have different veggies in it, and my parents and my grandparents and a lot of my neighbors also have huge gardens, and so I've been trading with some of my neighbors and my parents, and I've been trying to live off of my garden and what I'm growing as much as possible, not just for saving money, but also for the health benefits and not wasting the food that I am growing. So I think that's been something that's really fun. So not just living off my garden, but also living off of my pantry and freezer and fridge, which I know kind of sounds silly, but I've been trying to shift my mindset of how do I go grocery shopping from my pantry, from my fridge, from my garden, and using the stuff that's been sitting in the back of my freezer that if I don't use it soon, it's just going to go bad and be wasted. I don't want to waste what I have, what I've already spent money on. I want to be able to be responsible and respectful of either the animals that died for, the meat that I'm eating, or the money that I spent on the noodles and vegetables and things that I'm buying. I want to be respectful of those things and be able to use that money to fund my dreams and be able to maybe buy a house someday and be able to achieve the things that I really want to do with my life. I feel like I can actually make a difference with, and I want that money to be used intentionally. Another thing that I've been doing that's been actually a really fun way of saving money has been finding new fun ways of doing things that I enjoy and that I want to learn about to make money. Like a really good example of this is my aunt and uncle live on a farm and my grandparents live on a ranch, and I love the idea of being able to raise your own animals, raise your own food, be able to be self-sustainable. That's something that I really want to learn more about, and I want to learn how to do that more for myself and in my own life. But there's just a lot that I don't know about how to do that. And so one thing that I've been doing is I have been working at my aunt and uncle's, and they just pay me an hourly wage, and I've just been doing a lot of clearing brush and planting their garden and working with their animals. I got to help, I got to watch a baby goat be delivered, and it's just been so much fun to be a part of those things that I enjoy and that I want to learn more about. And it's also been really relaxing work. A lot of times I'll just plug in either music or an audiobook or a podcast and be doing physical work, clearing the brush, moving things, and it gives me a good workout. It gives me good therapeutic alone time where I can think about the books on tape that I'm listening to, where I can dream and have just some quiet space and have some alone time. That has been so therapeutic for me. And I want to be able to find more ways of doing things like that that are already activities that add richness to my life and add joy to my life, and I'm learning, and it's still productive and restful, but I'm still technically making a side hustle and I'm still making money. One other thing that I think that has been really helpful is I've always been a big thrifter. I love the challenge of going to a thrift store and finding these unique pieces of clothing and pieces of artwork and furniture pieces that are just different and that I know no one else has, and they're adding some uniqueness to my life and my style. And I like the challenge of finding something that's a really good deal, that is still in really good shape, and that I like, that is unique and has a story to it. I just love that challenge, and it saves me so much money. You can save so much getting something used, buying it on Facebook Market, buying it at Goodwill. There's so much that you can get that's either used or free. Learning to barter, that has been a huge thing, especially Facebook Market has really helped me with that. I've just gotten a lot more bold at like knowing how to barter with people in a respectful way that's not insulting, but that's also like, it's part of the game. It's fun. And if you make it a game, if you make it a fun challenge, if you make it a fun way of meeting people in your community in a safe way, it's really fun and it's really enjoyable, and you can save a ton of money. And I think especially for someone like me, where there's definitely a part of me that likes shopping and likes, I think I've spent a lot of money in the past just mindlessly online shopping. And this kind of scratches that itch in a way that isn't as harmful on my pocketbook, if you know what I mean. Another thing that I think is really helpful is writing things down on a wish list or like a to buy list. I use the Notion app, and I have a whole page on there that's just a wish list of things that I want to buy. So if I'm thinking of something that I want, instead of just immediately going on Amazon and buying it right there on the spot like I used to, I've been trying to be better at, when I have that impulsive feeling of wanting to buy something, putting it on my wish list. And it's funny how it still satisfies that need of like wanting something right away. Like, because I tried before of just ignoring the feeling or ignoring that like sense of wanting to buy something, and it just, I don't know, the feeling just lingered and I would just be thinking about it. But something for me about writing it down, about putting it on a list, makes me feel like, okay, I can sit on it and I still might get it. I just need to write it down and wait. And it's interesting, like either A, I will feel like, why did I even want that? Like, I don't need that. That's just gonna add junk and clutter into my life, and I just don't want it. I don't need it. So I'll take it off my list in a couple weeks. Or I'll end up doing more research on it, finding the best thing that is the best quality and that is exactly what I want. And it gives me time to actually do my research on buying the right version of it. Like an example of this is a vacuum. I had so many hand-me-down vacuums and so many cheap vacuums that I would just have to keep buying them and keep getting rid of them. They would be broken, and I probably ended up spending more money on buying cheap vacuums than if I would have just bought an expensive vacuum that works much better, that will save me time because it actually works and vacuums things up so much quicker than me buying a bunch of cheap ones and hand-me-down vacuums. So that's a good example of where me doing that research and sitting on it for a month or so and asking myself, like, okay, is this money that's actually being spent wisely and that's actually going to add real value to my life? And then when I buy it, I don't feel a sense of guilt or wonder like, oh, did I actually need that? Was that just out of impulse? I don't second guess myself because I know, like, no, I've thought about this for weeks now, and I usually try and let it sit on my wish list for like a month or so, especially if it's like something extra. If it's like a house cleaning product that I know that I'll use, or like toilet paper, I'm not going to put it on my wish list. I'm just not going to, because I know that I need that. But if it's something that's maybe a little bit more extravagant that I might not need, having it sit on that wish list for a little bit and thinking about it and doing my research, it just makes me feel so much more confident in that decision. So that's just a few tips and tricks of ways that I was able to save $50,000 by 26. I'm so thankful that I am in the position where I really did have the privilege of being able to save that money up. And part of it is like the tips and the tricks and being able to, save money and be frugal. Part of it is that, but also part of it is I'm so thankful that I do have a good job being a massage therapist, that I'm able to save this money up. I'm so thankful that I was able to stay with my parents while I was in college and not have to spend money and be in debt for my student loans. I'm thankful that I've been able to have a roommate and live with a roommate, and that I've had great roommates. Things like that I have been blessed alongside of working and being frugal and putting in effort. It's been both. So I just wanted to share a little bit more of this side of the part that I had control of, things that helped me and allowed me to be able to save extra money. I hope that this video is helpful and encouraging. I hope that it's something that you don't feel behind or guilty or shameful if you don't have this money saved up. Everyone's at their own pace and everyone has their own timing. And if you do have student loans, if you do have debt, that's okay. That you can change your life. You can save that money up at whatever point you're at. It's never too late. So I hope that this video is encouraging and makes you excited about saving money and being able to use that money as a tool to achieve your dreams. Because that's really what money is. It's just a tool. It's not saying how valuable you are or how much worth you have in this world. It really is just a tool. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope that this video is helpful. See you in my next video.